Hantavirus.
Hantavirus.
Hantavirus outbreak.
Hantavirus.
Happening right now is very real for all of us here.
Everyone suddenly started talking about the Hantavirus. After a series of sudden deaths during the expedition of the MV Hondius, it was revealed that the people who died had actually lost their lives because of Hantavirus. At first, it was believed that infected rodents had transmitted it to humans. But the situation seemed to be a little different. And this is exactly where the problem begins. The virus usually spreads from rodents to humans, but this was most likely a new strain capable of spreading from human to human. Its mortality rate was so high that all passengers on board were immediately placed under quarantine. And even worse was the helplessness of the ship in the middle of the ocean. The vessel wanted to dock at one of the Cape Verde Islands in the Atlantic Ocean, but authorities refused permission in order to prevent the disease from spreading ashore. Now, I'm about to tell you some very strange details. But first, I need to ask, how exactly did all of this happen? And is the situation really serious? Some of you have warned me that notifications arrive late, or sometimes not at all. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel again and set notifications to all. That should solve the problem. And don't forget to like the video. Everything started as a simple expedition. Explorers boarded the research vessel Hondius for a long journey that would eventually take them as far as the Cape Verde Islands. The ship departed on April 1st from the port of Ushuaia, Argentina. Its first stop was South Georgia Island. Before boarding, I'm heading to the designated area to transfer my luggage onto the ship. This was Jake, a traveler and blogger. He was one of the passengers aboard the ship. In fact, he was also the same person you saw at the beginning saying he was in trouble. While researching, I discovered that Jake had been documenting the trip day by day on his personal blog. Interestingly, on April 7th, during the very first week of the voyage, he wrote this: "A huge part of this preparation is biological security. Before going ashore, everything must be carefully cleaned and inspected to make sure nothing is introduced to the island." What he meant was simple. We must not contaminate the ecosystem by bringing dirt, bacteria, or foreign biological material with us. Of course, he wasn't talking about a pandemic virus, but somehow it almost felt as if Jake sensed that something was wrong from the very beginning. While he was writing those words, a 70-year-old passenger on board had no idea he was carrying a deadly virus. Roughly 4 days later, on April 11th, the elderly man died. And strangely, despite sharing almost everything about the trip, Jake never mentioned such an important event. He continued posting as if nothing had happened. The next morning, Captain John Dobrogowski addressed the passengers. He stated that the death was from natural causes and assured everyone that the ship was completely safe. But he was wrong. The situation was far more serious. Maybe they knew something. Maybe they were aware of the risk. Perhaps they were protecting the company's interests, or maybe they genuinely didn't know. But one thing was certain. At that point, nobody on board knew that this could be a deadly viral outbreak. Jake's later posts support this. The ship continued along its route and arrived at Tristan da Cunha on April 14th, the most remote inhabited settlement on Earth. I actually made a video about this island a while ago. If you're curious, you can find it on the channel. Passengers went ashore. They toured the island. They ate together. And all the while, no one knew that the deceased man's wife was also infected. The next day, April 16th, the ship departed again. What made it even more unfortunate was that 6 new passengers boarded from Tristan da Cunha, 6 completely unaware people. Meanwhile, the woman's condition was rapidly worsening. On April 24th, the ship reached St. Helena. At that point, she was only showing mild symptoms. She disembarked along with her husband's remains. But during her flight to Johannesburg, her condition suddenly deteriorated. She was rushed to the hospital, and on April 26th, she died. The ship continued onward. Then another passenger reported fever and shortness of breath to the onboard doctor. Shortly afterward, on May 2nd, the 3rd passenger died. After these events, the World Health Organization was notified. The virus was identified as the Andes virus. Andes is considered the most dangerous subtype of hantavirus, because it is believed to be the only hantavirus strain capable of human-to-human transmission. Following this discovery, all remaining passengers were confined to their cabins under strict quarantine. And this is where the real mystery begins. Many passengers were still on board. Nobody knew exactly how or where the virus had originated. So how did they conclude so quickly that it was a human-transmissible strain? Maybe it came from rodents aboard the ship. Maybe it was caused by rodent droppings. Maybe contaminated food was responsible. Or maybe it was something entirely different. What's even stranger is this. There is still no absolute proof that hantavirus spreads between humans. There is only possibility. A paper published by researchers from the Pan American Health Organization reviewing 22 different studies concluded that evidence supporting human-to-human transmission of the Andes virus remains insufficient. Of course, it could still be transmissible, but presenting it to the public as confirmed fact before complete investigation, and at the same time seeing reports of unrelated cases suddenly appearing in different countries, is highly unusual, and honestly not normal. So, could this really turn into a pandemic? The overall risk to the general public is low. This is not like flu or COVID. It behaves very differently. What you need to know is this. Some infected individuals recover on their own. There is no specific cure, no approved treatment. People usually become infected by inhaling viral particles found in dried rodent urine or droppings. In severe cases, blood vessels become leaky, fluid fills the lungs, breathing becomes difficult, the heart slows down, and eventually death can occur. If you ever experience these symptoms, seek medical attention immediately. Now, let's get to the conclusion. In my opinion, the situation is being exaggerated, because this virus is not new. Back in 2018, during a 100-person birthday party in Epuen, Argentina, 34 people were infected and 11 died. At the time, nobody called it a pandemic, and nothing larger ever happened. I believe the same is true today. The virus has been known since the 1950s. During the Korean War, American soldiers became severely ill from a related strain. Then, in 1978, infected rodents were discovered near the Handan River. The region was isolated, and the virus was named after that river, Hantan. Hopefully, this is not another attempt to spread fear among people for some other hidden purpose. Do you know what hantavirus is? Hantan. Yes, a few years ago, it was a deadly virus spread by field mice in the southern United States. That's what the newspapers said too. FEMA was immediately activated to contain it. Do you know how powerful FEMA really is? Why would such a powerful agency waste its time on some tiny virus outbreak in the outskirts of Texas? So it wasn't really that small? No, it wasn't hantavirus. No, my father and I were called in while working for the military. They said it was part of a biological warfare project. What killed those men? We still don't know exactly what was inside it. We don't even know how it may spread in the future. A pandemic? No, it would be the pandemic that ends all pandemics. The silent weapon of a silent war.